Did you know that there's a diet that helps women lose visceral fat even if the scale doesn't budge? And it's not keto, it's not carnivore, and it's not starving yourself counting every single calorie like it's your full-time job. If you're a woman in midlife and you're struggling with stubborn belly fat, visceral fat, and a scale that just won't move no matter what you try, then in this video, I'm going to explain why that's happening and a science-backed diet that's going to help you burn that visceral fat. I'm going to break down what research actually shows about visceral fat loss and walk you through the easiest, most simple diet that you can follow in midlife to get rid of that visceral fat. The science proves it. I've seen it with my own eyes, and now in this video, I'm going to share it with you. And this just isn't theory. There have been multiple clinical studies that have shown that this specific diet has a direct impact on visceral fat loss. And it can significantly reduce visceral fat even when the scale doesn't change. So here's why this matters after 45. You see, by the time a woman hits 45, they've probably tried everything. They've exercised, they've eaten their protein, they've hydrated, they've cut calories. And even with that, that visceral fat and belly fat stays like it's paid rent and has signed a long-term lease on your belly. And that's because the issue typically just isn't fat loss, it's visceral fat loss. And visceral fat behaves differently than regular fat. So what is visceral fat? It's that fat that surrounds your organs. It's not the fat you can pinch. You can often tell if you have visceral fat by a high protruding belly. That visceral fat feels kind of firm if you can feel it. It doesn't feel like that jiggly blubber. So you can lose weight and still have high visceral fat. Or on the flip side, you can lose visceral fat without shrinking a single pound. Once you understand that distinction, fat loss in midlife becomes a whole lot simpler. Hey there, I'm Ruth Sheridan. I'm 63 years old, and when I was in my mid-50s, I was a Lululemon model, a fitness model, and I owned a CrossFit gym. I was the leanest I had ever been. And then the world shut down. COVID hit. I ate everything in sight. I drank way too much wine. And for the first time in my life, I had belly fat. One day I looked in the mirror and I did not recognize the person looking back at me. Did you ever feel that way? That's when I made the decision that I was going to get rid of it. And I wasn't going to chase any fancy trends or magic pills. I was going to go back to the principles that I used to get the leanest in my life in my 50s, right in the middle of menopause. Why? Because I knew it worked. Here's the reframe most women never hear. Visceral fat isn't cosmetic. It surrounds your organs and releases inflammatory compounds that affect blood sugar, energy, brain function, and fat storage. Studies consistently link higher visceral fat levels to insulin resistance, heart disease, and even cognitive decline, independent of total body weight. Visceral fat's driven by gut health, alcohol, sleep, stress, and food quality, not just calories, which is why Eat Less, Move More starts falling apart after midlife. So step one in removing visceral fat is get rid of the blockers. What is that? You see, if you want to lose visceral fat, you have to stop feeding it. And alcohol is the big one. Even small daily amounts of alcohol will slow down fat loss, will interrupt sleep, and will destroy your gut biome. What does that mean? Increased inflammation. Now, you might be rolling your eyes right now, so I'll tell you that this doesn't mean forever. It means right now when you're trying to lose visceral fat. Think of it as pressing the pause button, and you're not breaking up with it forever. Although I'll tell you, if you get rid of it, you're going to realize how good you feel without it, and you may never go back. That's what happened to me. The second biggest blocker is ultra-processed health foods. So what do I mean by that? Oftentimes there are things in the grocery store that appear to be healthy for us and marked as healthy food. Think of it as highly processed keto snacks or highly processed keto wraps. It could mean certain protein bars, sweeteners, all the things that are marketed as healthy that may not be that great for us. All of these ultra processed foods, even the clearly unhealthy ones, like all the packaged stuff, the packaged cookies, the packaged crackers, and things like that, they all interrupt our gut biome in ways that promote visceral fat storage. You see, you don't need perfection, but you need to reduce the daily hits of this stuff. If you can, get rid of them out of your house. If you can't, really minimize your intake. Okay, now on to step 2, the diet that actually helps reduce visceral fat. The most effective approach to reducing visceral fat is eating an optimized Mediterranean diet. And before anybody panics and loses their mind, I'm not talking about bread, not pasta, not a loving Nona who's rolling out dough telling you you can have just one more bowl. In a well-known randomized trial, there were 3 diets that were compared: a healthy North American guideline diet, a traditional Mediterranean diet, and an optimized Mediterranean diet. That optimized diet was very high in polyphenols. What they found in the trial was that the group eating the Mediterranean diet with the high polyphenols, the optimized diet, was the group that experienced at least double the visceral fat loss than the other groups. And that was only with a moderate weight loss. So that's the version we're using, and that's the version I'm going to explain to you now. So the next step I call step 2A because it's really that important. It's at the top of the steps. And I talk about this all the time. Make protein the foundation of your diet. Why? Protein is the building block of muscle. The more muscle we have, the higher our metabolism, and then all of the good fat burning naturally starts happening. Our muscle is like bone armor, and it's going to protect us as we get older. There are literally decades of research studies that show how protein truly is the building block of muscle, and that's going to help our metabolism stay resilient, stay strong, and increase fat burning. Protein is like survival. The next part of the optimized Mediterranean diet is eating polyphenol-rich foods. What are these foods? Well, they're berries like blackberries, raspberries, wild blueberries, 2 cups a day. They improve insulin sensitivity and also help you out with appetite control. Next one is leafy green vegetables. Spinach, kale, arugula, bok choy, they are all high in polyphenols. Next up is green tea. Drink green tea instead of coffee. Now, I'm not saying get rid of coffee. If you love your coffee first thing in the morning like I do, then keep it. But instead of having another coffee or 2 during the day, replace that with green tea. Green tea is high in catechins. And catechins combined with caffeine preferentially reduce visceral fat. So keep 1 coffee and swap out the rest. Okay, moving on to one of my favorite things. This is what I call step 2C, is olive oil. Now let me clarify that. Let's call it olive oil done right. You see, olive oil is one of those things where people who are on a really good plan can really destroy their plan with olive oil. Not all olive oil is created equal. Some of those bottles you see on the shelves are actually just green colored fat with great marketing. You want to look for extra virgin olive oil, and it should have a harvest date in the last 12 to 18 months. It should also come in a dark bottle or a metal tin, and it should taste slightly peppery. You know, when you take a teaspoon of olive oil, you can feel that little burning at the back of your throat? Those are the polyphenols doing their work. So here's the thing about olive oil. Even the good stuff is really calorie dense. So this is where people go wrong. They free pour it all over everything and then wonder why they can't lose weight. Olive oil is a great addition to the optimized diet. However, using a drizzle instead of a pour is the way to go. Remember, you're not trying to turn your salad into a slip and slide. The next step is focusing in on gut health foods. Here's where it starts getting fun and interesting. You can start adding in nuts, seeds, and fermented foods. Walnuts, almonds, chia seeds, sauerkraut, kimchi. These foods actually help rebuild the gut bacteria, which in turn helps reduce visceral fat. You see, these foods don't actually burn fat. They change your body's environment so your body can actually start letting go of it. So here's my question of the day. What do you think is keeping you stuck right now? Food, sleep, stress, consistency, or not knowing what to do next? Drop it in the comments. I read all of the comments and it helps me decide which videos to make next that'll help you out the most. Next up, automate your hunger. What does this mean? It's not some weird AI tool. You can actually train your hunger to start at certain times. How do you do this? Eat consistently at the same times every day. First meal, 1 to 2 hours after waking. Last meal, 3 to 4 hours before bed so your sleep isn't disrupted. One balanced meal in between, and potentially a couple of balanced snacks. Protein is always the foundation at every single meal and snack. If you stick to the schedule, in a couple of weeks, cravings will decrease. You won't feel hungry all the time. You'll feel back in control of your eating, and you'll start to release fat because your body is trained to know, hey, food's coming. I don't have to hang on for so long. Step 4, move in a way that burns visceral fat. Studies consistently show that strength training or resistance training combined with walking outdoes cardio sessions in terms of visceral fat burn every single time. You see, you don't need punishment, but you do need strength training 3 to 4 times per week. Daily walking, and at least once a week, some high intensity interval training. Any more than that is going to stress your system and cause you to hold on to more fat. You see, stress and belly fat, they're like 2 peas in a pod. Next up is step 5. Let's talk about sleep. Sleep is what I call metabolic maintenance. Now, this matters more than most people realize. Sleep is not optional. It's not a nice to have when it comes to losing visceral fat. Most women over 45, 7 to 9 hours a night faithfully. Consistency matters way more than perfection when it comes to sleep. Let's face it, all of us have a bad night every once in a while. The best way to get a good sleep? Create a sleep routine. You've probably heard it before, but it works. Wind down an hour before bed. That means computer screens, phone screens off, ideally television off. Spend your time journaling or reading or doing some stretching. Just do something away from a screen. Keep a small journal beside your bed. Write down your thoughts. Get them out of your head and on paper. It's going to help clear your mind so you can actually rest and relax. Avoid all alcohol before bed. It actually fragments sleep. You may find that you fall asleep more quickly, but it will disrupt your sleep through the night and cause you to wake unrested in the morning. That's another reason why alcohol is tied to visceral fat. It's not just the sugar calories in alcohol that we have to burn off first. We have to burn the alcohol off first before we can get to fat burning. It's the sleep disruption, so it's like a double whammy. So sleep is not laziness. It's not a luxury. It's actually metabolic maintenance. Step 6 is support your visceral fat loss with supplements. There's a couple of supplements that actually really help with visceral fat loss. Number one is creatine. Creatine supports not only muscle, but brain health and energy. Start with only a few grams a day. If you've never taken creatine before, it can sometimes cause a little bit of stomach discomfort if you do too much at once. Work your way up to 5 grams and then more if you like. I currently take 12 grams of creatine a day. I split it up into 3 small dosages over the course of a day to avoid that stomach disruption. Next is vitamin D3 paired with K2. This dynamic combo supports insulin sensitivity, bone health, mood, and a whole lot of other things. It's just really good for you, so don't miss it. Deficiency in D3 is common among midlife women. Make sure you're getting enough. So if visceral fat hasn't moved in years, it's not because you lack discipline. It's because what worked when you were 35 doesn't work in midlife anymore. Because your body has changed, your plan needs to change. That's not failure, that's just intelligence. And none of this is new. What is new is applying the science to midlife women's bodies. Too long, midlife women in menopause and perimenopause have been pushed aside like it's not an issue. It's time to bring this to light and find the protocols that actually help women in midlife. If you want help in dealing with this properly, I do some one-on-one coaching with midlife women to help them apply these concepts, build a plan, get strong, get lean, and start living a full and active life for the rest of their lives. You can apply in the description below. I read every single application. You see, visceral fat doesn't have to be permanent. When you change the signals, your body will respond. I'll see you in the next video.